The envelope sat on my table for an hour before I touched it. Cream-colored, elegant, familiar handwriting. Lucas. I tore it open slowly, as if the paper might scream. You are cordially invited to the wedding of Lucas Cross and Alara Wynne. My hands froze. The room blurred. For a second, I couldn't breathe. Ilara, my Ilara. I sank into the chair, the letter trembling between my fingers. My name wasn't on it, just guest. No dear Aiden, no brother, just guest. I laughed under my breath. How thoughtful. A knock broke the silence. I didn't move. Aiden. Nora's voice came through the door. You alive, in there? I crumpled the invitation slightly before answering. Barely. She stepped inside, carrying 2 coffees. You sound like someone died. I held up the card. Someone did. She frowned. What is that? The end of my self-control. She took it from me, read a line, and her eyes widened. Wet Lucas and Ella. I nodded. Oh hell no. She slammed the card on the table. Tell me this is a prank. I wish it was. Her voice softened. You okay? I forced a smile. Of course. My brother's marrying the woman I loved. Totally fine. She sat across from me. Aiden, don't start with the sarcasm defense. I know that tone. I'm not sarcastic, I said quietly. Just surprised at how poetic life can be. She leaned forward. You left this town to forget them. Don't let them drag you back. I stared at the cup of coffee she'd brought. Steam curled upward, blurring my reflection. He knew I'd get the invitation. He wanted me to. Then burn it, she said. That's what I'd do. I picked up the envelope and ran my thumb over Ellara's name. You think she wanted this? Does it matter? Nora said. She made her choice. Yeah, I murmured. She chose blood over love. For a while, neither of us spoke. The ticking clock filled the silence. Finally, Nora sighed. You're not going, right? I looked up at her. Would you believe me if I said no? No, she said flatly. Then don't ask questions you already know the answer to. Her brows knit. Aiden, I need to see them, I said. Not for closure. Not for forgiveness. I just need them to look me in the eye. Nora crossed her arms. That's not closure. That's punishment. Maybe that's all that's left. She looked away. You think this will make you feel better? Because it won't. You'll walk in there, see them smiling, and it'll tear you apart again. Good, I said. Maybe I deserve to feel it again, just to remember I'm still human. Nora sighed heavily. You're impossible, always have been. I stood and walked to the window. Outside, the late afternoon sun bled through the curtains. Golden light on old scars. Do you ever think about how fast everything can fall apart? I asked. All the time, she said, but most people try to build again. I smiled faintly. And some wait for the right moment to break what broke them. She shook her head. That's not you, you sure? Yes, she said firmly. The Aiden I know doesn't play with fire just to feel warmth. I turned from the window, my gaze locking onto the invitation again. Then maybe the Aiden you knew died 3 years ago. Her lips parted, but no words came out. I poured myself a drink, the ice clinking against glass. You think I should stay away? I know you should. I took a sip. Then it settled. I'll go, she groaned. You're going to regret this. Maybe, I said, staring at the glass. But regret's better than wondering. She leaned on the table. What's your plan? Walk in, make a scene. No, I said. I'll just be there. Silent, uninvited truth. Lucas won't like that. Lucas liked taking what wasn't his. He'll have to live with me taking back a moment. Her eyes softened. You still love her, don't you? I hesitated. The question hit harder than I expected. I don't know, I admitted. Sometimes I think I hate her. Other times, I miss her voice more than my own. Nora whispered. She doesn't deserve that. Maybe not. But love doesn't check resumes. She sat quietly, then said, You're walking into a storm, Aiden. I've lived in the rain long enough. I might as well meet the thunder. Her eyes met mine, tired, worried, loyal. Then promise me something. When it's over, walk away. Don't let this destroy what's left of you. I nodded slowly. I'll try, she sighed, stood, and placed a hand on my shoulder. Try harder than that. When she left, the room felt emptier. I stared at the invitation one last time. The words blurred as my eyes burned. Lucas Cross and Elara Wynne. Their names looked perfect together. Elegant, cruel. I folded the invitation carefully, slid it back into its envelope, and whispered, "See you soon, brother." Outside, thunder rolled in the distance. Low and hollow, fitting, I raised my glass, staring at the reflection of a man I barely recognized. To the happy couple, I said softly, "May your day be unforgettable." Then I drank until the storm broke. It was raining that night, hard enough to drown the city in noise. I remember the sound against the window, sharp, endless. Like warning knocks, I ignored Dot. I had been gone 3 days on a contract job. Working late to close a deal, Lucas said, would save our business. When I came back early, I planned to surprise Elara. She loved surprises. Or maybe I just needed her smile to remind me why I was still fighting. The front door was unlocked. The lights were low, and somewhere upstairs, I heard laughter, soft, familiar, wrong, Elara. I called out, forcing calm into my voice. "You home?" No answer. Just a whisper of movement. My steps felt heavier with every stare. Her perfume lingered in the air, jasmine and rain. I pushed open the bedroom door. They froze. Lucas. Elara, my brother. My love. Sheets tangled. Eyes wide for a moment. I couldn't breathe. Jesus. I whispered. Tell me this isn't happening. Elara scrambled up, clutching the blanket. Aiden, please. I backed away. Don't say my name like that. Lucas stood, half-dressed, trying to find words that didn't exist. It's not what you think. I laughed. It sounded broken. Then tell me what it is. Because from here, it looks exactly like what it is. He ran a hand through his hair. It just happened. Okay. You were gone all the time. She was lonely. Lonely. My voice cracked. That's your excuse. Ilara's tears fell fast. I didn't mean to hurt you, but you did. I stepped closer, shaking. You both did. She tried to reach me, but I pulled back. Don't touch me, Lucas muttered. You don't understand. I don't understand. I snapped. You're my brother, Lucas. The one person I trusted completely. He looked away. I didn't plan this. No, I said, you just didn't stop it. Silence filled the room, heavy, cruel. The rain outside became the only sound that made sense. Ilara's voice trembled. I thought you'd never forgive me, but I still love you, Aiden, I do. I stared at her, disbelief burning through the pain. Love, you call this love? Her eyes dropped. I was scared. You were so distant, always working, chasing something I couldn't see. I was building a life for us, I said quietly, and you were tearing it apart. Lucas stepped forward. We didn't want to hurt you, then why didn't you stop? I asked. Why not end it before it started? He had no answer. I turned toward the door, numb. The world outside was still pounding with rain, but it sounded easier than the silence behind me. Elara whispered, please don't go like this. Like what? I said. Like a fool who walked into his own execution. She sobbed. Aiden, please, I gave you everything, I said. Every piece of who I was. And you gave it to him? Lucas took a step closer. Don't turn this into something it's not. I spun around, fury cracking through the shock. You slept with my fiancé, Lucas. What exactly do you think this is? His jaw tightened. You always think you're the victim. I froze. Excuse me? You act like you're the only one who sacrifices. You work, you disappear, and then you blame the world when people stop waiting for you. I stared at him, speechless. You really believe that? He didn't answer. He didn't have to. His silence said everything. Elara reached out again. Please, say something, Aiden. I shook my head. There's nothing left to say. The walls felt closer. The air heavier. I could taste betrayal in every breath. Lucas tried one last time. Let's talk about this in the morning. We can know. I opened the door. You've already said enough. Ilara's voice followed me down the stairs. I didn't mean for it to happen. Then maybe that's the problem, I said. You never mean anything. You just let it. Outside, the rain hit like punishment. Cold, relentless. I walked to the car without looking back. When I started the engine, I saw my reflection in the rearview mirror, eyes red, face pale. I barely recognized the man staring back. The phone buzzed. Her name flashed across the screen. Ilara. I let it ring until it stopped. For a long time, I just sat there, watching raindrops race down the windshield. My chest felt hollow, like something had been carved out. Finally, I whispered, "It's done." But it wasn't, not really. The next morning, I packed everything I owned, or what little I cared to take. My mother's photo, an old watch, a few clothes. I didn't even leave a note. What was there to explain? Nora showed up at the door just as I was locking it. "You're leaving?" I nodded. "What happened?" She asked, eyes full of alarm. "Nothing," I said. "Everything." She grabbed my arm. "Aiden, please talk to me." I met her gaze. He took her. Nora froze. "Lucas." I nodded once. That was enough. Her hand flew to her mouth. "Oh God." I smiled faintly. "God left early," she whispered. "You can't just disappear." "I can," I said. "And I will." She followed me to the car. "Where will you go?" "Anywhere that doesn't remember me." She looked like she wanted to argue, but she didn't. Instead, she said softly, "You don't deserve this." I shrugged. Maybe I do, for believing in people who never meant their promises. I got in the car, shut the door, and started the engine. The rain had eased, but everything still felt wet. The road, the air, my heart. As I drove away, I caught one last glimpse of the house in the rearview mirror. The curtains still swayed in the open window upstairs. I wondered if they were standing there. Watching me go, I didn't look back again. 3 years have passed since that night. But the rain still sounds the same, sharp, cruel, honest. It doesn't wash away pain. It just teaches you how to stand in it. And I've been standing ever since. The town looked the same, quiet, grey, and smaller than I remembered. Maybe it was me who had grown out of it. The air smelled of rain and regret. "Are you sure about this?" Nora asked, her hands gripping the steering wheel. 3 years, Aiden. People move on, do they? I said, watching the familiar buildings blur past. Or do they just learn to live with what they did? She sighed. "You're not here to heal. I can see it in your eyes." I turned toward her, half smiling. "I'm not looking for healing." "Then what are you looking for?" "Answers," I said quietly. "Maybe reminders." She shook her head. "Revenge won't bring peace." "I'm not looking for peace," I replied. "Peace is what they took from me." For a while, neither of us spoke. The hum of the car filled the silence. The road twisted through the edge of town, past the bakery Ilara loved. The park where Lucas and I played as kids. The church where I'd once believed in forgiveness. When we stopped at the corner near Main Street, I saw the faces turn. Old neighbors. Old whispers. "Is that Aiden?" Someone murmured. "He came back." Another voice said. The sound of my name burned more than it comforted. I opened the door. "Wait," Nora said. "You don't have to face them all today." "I do," I said. "Ghosts don't rest unless you face them." The sky was heavy with clouds. The town hadn't changed, just frozen, like a wound that never healed. I walked past the flower shop, the old diner, the cracked sidewalk where Ilara once laughed when I tripped. Every step pulled at an old scar. Father Donovan's church stood at the end of the street, pale stone against dark sky. The doors were open, they always were. When I entered, the scent of incense hit me. For a moment, I almost turned back. "You look like a man chasing something that doesn't want to be caught," a voice said. I looked up. Father Donovan was standing by the altar, his kind eyes sharper than I remembered. "Father," I said, forcing a smile. "Didn't expect you to still be here." "Some of us don't leave," he replied. We just wait for those who do to return. I didn't come for confession, I said quickly. I know, he said. You came for closure. I laughed softly. You still read people to easily, not people, he said, stepping closer. Just lost souls. I leaned against a pew. Then you should have a field day with me. He studied me for a moment. Hatred only chains the heart, Aiden. Maybe, I said. But I've lived long enough with those chains. Now I want them to wear it too. His expression didn't change. And when they do, will it make the weight any lighter? I didn't answer. My silence was enough. You think you left this place, he continued. But the truth is, it never left you. Maybe I didn't want it to, I said. Maybe I needed the pain to remember who I am, he sighed. You mistake remembering for living. I looked at the cross behind him. Living's overrated. He walked closer, his voice low. You'll stand at that wedding, won't you? My eyes met his. You already knew. I hear things, he said. And I pray for everyone, even those who return with fire in their hearts. I smiled bitterly. Then save your prayers, Father. Fire's all I have left. He touched my shoulder gently. You can still choose not to burn. I stepped back. Sometimes burning's the only way to feel alive. When I left the church, the sky had turned darker. The first drops of rain starting to fall. The air was thick with memories, laughter echoing down the street. My own reflection in the window of what used to be my cafe. Closed now. Faded sign. Like everything else I'd left behind, Nora was waiting in the car. How'd it go? He hasn't changed, I said. Still thinks faith fixes everything. She looked at me carefully. And you? I think some things don't need fixing, I said. Just finishing. Her jaw tightened. You're not the same person, Aiden. Good, I said. That person was blind. As we drove past the edge of town, I saw Lucas's house in the distance. New paint, same porch. Isla's handwriting flashed in my mind. The way she used to write my name on every note. Love you, always, always. Such a fragile word, Nora spoke softly. You're walking a dangerous line. I turned my gaze from the window. I'm not walking, Nora. I'm coming home. The rain thickened, streaking across the glass like ghosts reaching out. And as the town faded behind us, one thought burned clear in my chest. I hadn't come back to forgive. I'd come back to remind them what forgiveness costs. The first thing I noticed when I walked into the gallery was his laugh, smooth, confident, rehearsed. Lucas always knew how to own a room. I stood near the edge, pretending to study the artwork. His company logo was everywhere. Silver lettering, bold, polished. Just like him, didn't think I'd see you here, a voice said behind me. I turned. Didn't plan to stay long. Lucas grinned, that same infuriating charm coating his tone. Aiden, it's been what, 3 years? You look good, man, do I? I said. Guess time does heal. Some people, he chuckled lightly. Still I missed that. I'm sure you did, I said. Along with everything else you took. His smile didn't falter. You always make things sound so dramatic. You left, remember? We just filled the void. I finished for him. He exhaled slowly. It wasn't planned, Aiden. It just happened. I've heard that one before. His gaze flickered, but he recovered quickly. I wanted to reach out, you know? But you disappeared. No calls, no address. Some things are easier to bury when you stop digging, I said. He tilted his head, studying me. You came back for the wedding, didn't you? I smiled faintly. Guess, congratulations are in order. Guess, so, he said. His voice softer now. You're welcome to come, if you want. I already got the invitation. His eyes searched mine, maybe for regret, maybe for forgiveness. He found neither. That's when I saw her. Ilara stood across the room, radiant in an ivory dress that wasn't quite white. Her smile poised for the cameras until she saw me. Then it broke. Her glass slipped slightly in her hand. She froze, her lips parting as if to call my name. I didn't give her the chance. I turned and walked toward the exit. Aiden, her voice followed me. soft, trembling. I didn't stop. Outside, the night air was colder than I remembered. The noise from the gallery muffled behind the door. I leaned against a pillar, trying to steady my breathing. I'd imagined seeing her again 100 times, imagined anger, closure, indifference, but not this hollow ache. A softer voice called. I turned to see Clara, Alara's cousin. She looked cautious, as if stepping into enemy territory. Clara, I said. Didn't expect to see you. I could say the same. She paused. You shouldn't have come. Why? Afraid I'll ruin their perfect picture. Her expression shifted. It's not as perfect as it looks. I raised a brow. That's so. She cries every night, Clara whispered. She puts on a smile for everyone, but she's breaking inside. I laughed quietly. Save the sympathy, Clara. She made her bed. She still talks about you, she said. You think she doesn't, but she does. Talking doesn't erase what she did. She regrets it. Aiden every day. I met her eyes, steady, cold. Regrets a luxury people afford after the damage is done. Clara hesitated. You still care? I can tell. No, I said, sharper than I meant to. I remember. That's all. She looked down. Maybe remembering is worse. Maybe it's what keeps me alive, I said. The sound of laughter drifted from inside. Lucas again. Charming the crowd, perfect as ever. Clara followed my gaze. He plays the role well, doesn't he? He's always been good at pretending, I said. Even when we were kids, she sighed. If you came here to hurt them, I came here to remind them, I interrupted, of what it costs to betray someone who loved them. Her voice softened. You think vengeance will give you peace? I don't want peace, I said. I want truth. She shook her head. Sometimes truth destroys everyone who touches it. Then maybe it's about time, I said, stepping past her, as I walked toward my car. I caught one last glimpse through the glass doors. Alara was staring at the spot where I'd stood, lost, pale, trembling beneath the lights. For a second, pity stirred somewhere deep inside me, then I crushed it. They made their choice now, I'll make mine. Lucas's debts go deeper than anyone knows, Clara whispered, sliding a folder across the cafe table. If this gets out, his company's finished. I stared at the paper's account statements, fake contracts, hidden transactions. How did you get these? She glanced around nervously. Alara doesn't even know. He keeps everything locked in his office. I took pictures when I could. I flipped through the pages, my jaw tightening. Loans under fake names. Off the books deals. Of course. Clara hesitated. You're not going to hurt him, are you? I don't have to, I said. Truth will do that for me. Her voice dropped. Illyris, suffering enough. Then maybe she should start talking, I said, pushing the folder back. The more she hides him, the more she breaks. She's scared, Clara said softly. He controls everything, money, image, people. If he falls, she falls too. Then she chose the wrong man to stand beside. Later that night, I met Dylan in an empty parking lot behind the old bookstore. He was hunched over his laptop, cigarette hanging from his mouth, screens lighting his face in shifting colors. You're late, he muttered without looking up. I had to make sure I wasn't followed. He smirked. Still paranoid. I like that. What did you find? I asked. He turned the screen toward me. Emails, private messages, a few offshore accounts. Your brother's been busy. I scanned through them. Bribes, fake invoices, encrypted conversations with partners overseas. He's covering something big. Oh, he's more than covering, Dylan said. He's laundering through charities. Even the children's fund you two started years ago. My stomach twisted. That fund was supposed to help people. Yeah, well, Dylan shrugged. It's helping him by silence. I clenched my fists. How soon can we make this public? Depends how loud you want it to explode. As loud as it takes to make him bleed. He studied me quietly. You sure you're not crossing the same line he did? I'm not stealing. I'm exposing. Sometimes it's the same thing, man, Dylan said. You start with a reason, and end up with nothing left. I looked away. That's the point. Nora showed up at my apartment the next morning, uninvited as always. She dropped a bag of groceries on the counter and crossed her arms. "You look like hell," she said. "Thanks for noticing. I mean it." "Aiden, your eyes are sunken, you barely sleep. And your phone never stops buzzing. What are you doing to yourself?" "I'm fixing what should have been broken years ago." "Revenge isn't fixing anything," she snapped. "It's rot. It eats you from the inside, until you're just, I lost myself 3 years ago, Nora." I cut her off, my voice sharper than intended. "All I'm doing now is remembering why." She stepped closer, her tone softening. "You think this will bring her back? Or make the pain stop? It's not about her." "Then why do you flinch every time her name comes up?" I said nothing. She sighed. "You're losing yourself again." "Maybe that's exactly what needs to happen," I muttered. Nora shook her head, grabbed her keys, and left without another word. The silence she left behind pressed on me harder than her scolding ever could. 2 nights later, I attended a business gala, Lucas's event, of course. Polished marble, champagne, fake laughter. Everything about it screamed control. Dylan had set up a small device in my pocket. An audio bug syncs to Lucas's private office feed. "You'll get everything you need," he'd said. I didn't expect to see her. Ilara stood by the window, her smile painted on, but her eyes hollow. She looked like a ghost, trapped in silken diamonds. When she noticed me, her breath caught. "Aiden, Mrs. Ward," I said flatly. She winced. "Please, don't what?" I said. "Don't remind you of what you left behind." Her eyes glistened. "You think I wanted any of this? You made your choice, and you think I don't pay for it every day?" Her voice cracked. "You don't know what it's like, living next to someone who smiles at you but keeps knives behind every word." For a moment, her honesty pierced through the armor I'd built. "Then why stay?" I asked quietly. She looked down. "Because if he falls, I fall too." I almost laughed, bitterly. "Then maybe you deserve each other." She reached for my arm, desperate. "You're not the man I knew." "No," I said, pulling away. "You killed him." Her lips trembled, but she didn't reply. Across the room, Lucas appeared charming, confident, untouchable. He wrapped an arm around her, smiling at the crowd. When his eyes met mine, the smile froze just for a second. That second was all I needed. I turned toward the exit. My heartbeat steady, my resolve sharper than ever. Dylan's message buzzed on my phone, files uploaded. "The world will know by morning." For a moment, I watched the glittering room through the glass doors, Lucas laughing, Ilara standing beside him like a shadow. And I wondered, when everything burns, will I finally feel free? Or will the ashes just remind me how much I've already lost? The pre-wedding dinner was already in full swing when I pushed open the doors. Every head turned, the chatter stopped mid-laugh. Lucas froze for a second, then forced a smile. "Aiden," he said, voice smooth but tight. "Didn't expect you." I smiled back. "You sent me an invitation." "I thought it was only polite to show up." His jaw twitched. "That was weeks ago." "I'm punctual in my own way," I said, stepping closer. "You look happy, nervous." He laughed too loudly. "Of course not. Tomorrow's a big day, right?" I said. "A day built on love, trust, loyalty." Someone coughed. The tension in the room was thick enough to taste. Ilara sat at the end of the table, pale, her fingers gripping the wine glass. Her lips moved faintly. I caught it even in the quiet. "Aiden," I lifted a glass from the table and tapped it gently. "A toast," I said, "to honesty and loyalty, the foundation of any strong marriage." The silence deepened. Lucas's smile faltered. "May the two of you always stay true," I added. "To each other, and to yourselves." I drank slowly, never breaking eye contact. The wine burned like acid. Lucas laughed again, strained this time. "You always had a way with words." "I had to learn," I said. Truth doesn't always speak for itself. Someone changed the subject. Music, decorations, anything to fill the void. But it didn't work. Every word in the room felt like it was crawling over glass. I stayed just long enough to see him squirm, then walked out before I could drown in the noise outside. The air was cool, quiet. I leaned against the stone railing, watching the lights blur across the city. Aiden, her voice came softly behind me. I didn't turn. You shouldn't be out here. People might talk. I don't care, she said. Not tonight. I faced her then. She looked smaller somehow, the glow of the building painting her face in soft gold. You looked the part, I said. Perfect bride. Her eyes shimmered. You shouldn't have come. Then why'd you say my name? She exhaled shakily. Because seeing you again hurt less than pretending you were gone. I laughed bitterly. You're marrying my brother tomorrow. Pretending's all you've got left. She flinched. You think I wanted this? You think I don't wake up every night wishing I could undo it all? Then why didn't you? Her voice broke. Because it was easier to live with guilt than to live without you. I stared at her, the words clawing at something I'd buried deep. You always knew how to twist a knife. Tears glistened in her eyes. I never stopped loving you. My laugh came out harsh, almost cruel. Love, you call that love? Watching me tear myself apart while you stood beside him. She shook her head. You don't understand what he's capable of. I understand perfectly, I said. I've been on the other side of his lies. She stepped closer, voice trembling. Please, Aiden, don't do anything tomorrow. Whatever you're planning, it'll destroy you too. I stared at her for a long moment. Her hands were trembling, the ring on her finger catching the light. Maybe destruction's the only honest thing left, I said quietly. She bit her lip, tears falling now. You've changed. No, I whispered. You did that for me. Her silence said everything she didn't dare admit. I turned before I could reach for her, before I could let that old, familiar ache drag me backward. Behind me, I heard her whisper. I'm sorry, I didn't look back. Sorry didn't matter anymore, because, tomorrow, everything would end one way or another. The church looked like a fairy tale dipped in deceit. White roses lined every aisle, chandeliers shimmered like stars, pretending not to burn. I stood at the back, dressed in black, the ghost of every truth Lucas buried. Sir, are you on the guest list? A guard asked, blocking the doorway. I'm family, I said quietly. Distant, but close enough to care. He hesitated, then stepped aside. I walked in, my footsteps swallowed by the orchestra. Elara stood at the altar in white, ethereal and trembling. Lucas looked radiant, confident, until his eyes met mine. The flicker in his smile was all I needed. Is that Aiden? I heard someone whisper. Lucas raised his glass toward me later during the reception. Didn't expect you to come, he said, voice low, almost polite. I wouldn't miss your happiest lie, I murmured. His jaw tightened. You don't belong here, neither do your secrets. He leaned closer. Whatever you think you know, I know enough, I cut in. Enough to ruin this perfect illusion. Before he could respond, the lights dimmed. The ceremony was about to begin. I stepped back into the shadows near the side aisle, phone in hand. My heart pounding like a countdown. Elara's voice broke through the murmurs. Dearly beloved, she began, her tone fragile but steady. I whispered under my breath, forgive me. Then, I pressed play. The projector screen at the front flickered to life. At first, laughter, a slideshow of Lucas's childhood, his achievements, his dream life. Then the images glitched. The tone shifted. Screenshots appeared, transactions, messages, recordings. His voice, smooth but venomous, they'll never know. As long as Elara believes the image, the rest will follow. The room froze. A woman gasped. Another covered her mouth. Elara's father shot up from his chair. What is this? He thundered. Lucas turned white. This is fake. Someone hacked. Fake. I stepped forward, the spotlight catching my face. You want to talk about fake Lucas? Start with your offshore accounts. Or your affairs. Or your bribes. Gasps rippled through the hall. Lucas lunged toward the sound system, but Dylan, standing in the crowd, had already locked it from his laptop. The video kept rolling. Every word, every lie unraveling. Alara stared at the screen, motionless. Her bouquet slipped from her hands. Lucas's father tried to step in, turn that off. But Elara's father spoke over him. "Lucas, is this true?" Lucas stammered, "No, it's Ilara, please, don't believe enough." Her father roared, "This wedding is over." The orchestra stopped mid. Guests began murmuring, rising, some filming, others backing away like the scandal was contagious. Ilara looked at me, her face a war between disbelief and recognition. "Aiden, what did you do?" "I told the truth," I said quietly. Her eyes brimmed. "You've destroyed everything." "Did I?" I whispered, "or did he?" Lucas turned on me then, shaking, rage cracking through his mask. "You destroyed me." I met his glare, steady and cold. "You did that yourself." Security stepped forward. Cameras flashed. Somewhere, a child cried. The fairy lights flickered above, fragile like everything Lucas built. I backed away as chaos erupted. Guests arguing. Journalists dialing numbers. Alara collapsing into her father's arms. Lucas shouting my name as if it still held power. Outside, the air hit me like a release. The muffled chaos behind the doors faded into the night. I could still hear Lucas yelling, still see Ilara's eyes before she fell. Dylan joined me at the edge of the parking lot. "You okay?" he asked. I exhaled slowly. "I don't know," he nodded, toward the church. "It worked. Everything's exposed." "Yeah," I said. "But it doesn't feel like winning." Silence hung between us, thick and strange. "Maybe because you didn't just destroy him," Dylan said quietly. "You destroyed what was left of her belief in love." I didn't answer. He was right. Revenge had tasted sharp for a moment, then turned hollow. "I'll send the files to the authorities," he said. "You sure you want no credit?" "I already got what I came for," I murmured. He nodded and left, fading into the dark. I stood there, staring at the wedding hall, glowing in false gold. Hearing faint sobs echo through the walls, my phone buzzed. A message from Nora. "You did it, didn't you?" I stared at the screen before replying. "Yeah." Another text followed. "And now?" I typed, paused, then erased it. I had no answer. The moonlight brushed across the asphalt, catching my reflection in a puddle. For the first time in years, I felt something leave me, the weight, the bitterness, maybe even the purpose. I thought I'd feel free. Instead, I felt empty somewhere inside. Alara's voice still echoed, "I never stopped loving you." I whispered into the night, "I wish you had." The wind carried it away, and with it, whatever remained of who I used to be. Lucas vanished like smoke after the fire. No statements, no press appearances, not even whispers of denial. Just gone. I heard fragments through the city's gossip, frozen accounts, shattered partnerships, friends pretending they never knew him. His name had become a warning, not a memory. Alara left town 2 weeks later. No announcement. No forwarding address. Just silence. Fitting for the way everything had ended. I spent my days in quiet places, cafes that didn't ask questions, streets where nobody knew my face. At night, the sound of the projector still echoed in my head. Truth had a strange sound like glass breaking in a cathedral. When I finally went back to see Father Donovan, the church felt smaller than before. He looked up as I entered. "Aiden," he said softly. "It's been a while." "Too long," I replied, taking the seat across from him. He studied me for a moment. "You look lighter, but not happier." I smiled faintly. "I'm not sure those two ever meet." He folded his hands. "Did you find what you were looking for?" I hesitated. "I found the truth, and peace." "Not peace," I said quietly, "but silence." He nodded, as if he understood something I hadn't said. "Sometimes, silence is the beginning of peace." I glanced at the stained glass window behind him, the same one I used to stare at when everything felt too heavy to confess. I thought revenge would fix something inside me, I murmured. And did it? No, it just emptied the noise. He sighed. "Then maybe that's where you start rebuilding." I left a donation at the altar on my way out. It wasn't guilt, it was gratitude for someone who never judged me. Even when I became everything he warned me not to. Months passed before I saw her again. It was late autumn, the air sharp with the scent of dying leaves. I was at the park by the river, sitting on the same bench where we used to argue about everything and nothing. She appeared from the fog, wearing a grey coat and the same look she had the night of the wedding, only quieter now. "Aiden," she said softly, "Alara." I stood, unsure if I should smile or stay still. "Didn't think I'd see you again." "I wasn't sure I wanted to," she admitted. I nodded. "Then why now?" She looked down, fingers tracing the edge of her sleeve. "Because I needed to say it." "I'm sorry, for what?" I asked. "For believing I could rebuild love on lies," she whispered. "For pretending you were the problem when I was too afraid to face my own choices." Her words sank in slowly, like rain through dry soil. "I don't hate you," I said. She met my eyes. "Then what do you feel?" "Relief," I said after a pause. "And forgiveness." She blinked, surprised. "You forgave me?" "Not for you," I said. "For me." Carrying anger was just another form of being trapped. Alara smiled faintly, sadness threading through it. "You always had a way of sounding like closure." Maybe because I finally learned to stop reopening wounds. The wind brushed her hair across her face. She tucked it back, her eyes distant. "You deserve peace, Aiden, so do you," I said. We stood there for a moment. The silence between us, no longer sharp, just still. She took a step back, her voice low. "Goodbye." I nodded. "Goodbye, Alara." She turned and walked away, her figure fading into the fog until only the echo of her footsteps remained. I sat back on the bench, watching the river move quietly beneath the bridge. The world felt different, not fixed, but honest, for the first time in years. I didn't feel the need to do anything, prove anything, or destroy anything. Just breathe. Just exist. The past had already burned. All that remained was smoke and the strange calm that followed it. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. The road out of town felt shorter this time. Maybe because I wasn't running anymore. Maybe because I'd already left everything that mattered behind years ago. The ocean came into view just as the sun began to rise, quiet, steady, endless. I parked by the cliff, the wind catching my coat, carrying the salt and the ghosts of everything I used to be. I sat on the hood of my car, staring at the horizon until the light blurred my vision. The sound of the waves was the only voice that made sense anymore. Did it help? Nora's voice came from behind me. I hadn't even heard her pull up. I gave a short laugh. Define help. She leaned against the car beside me. "You look different." "I feel hollow," I admitted. "But it's a clean kind of hollow, not the kind that rots." She nodded slowly. "You got what you wanted." "I did," I said. "And it turns out what I wanted wasn't what I needed." "Then what do you need now?" I looked out at the sea. Maybe just this. Quiet distance. Space to remember who I was before everything broke. She exhaled softly. "You think you'll ever forgive him?" "I already did," I said, after a pause. "Not because he deserves it, but because I can't carry him anymore." Nora looked at me, eyes full of something like pride, or maybe pity. "You sound like someone who's finally done fighting." "I am," I said. "For the first time, I don't want revenge. I don't want closure. I just want peace." She smiled faintly. "Then you're already ahead of most people." I chuckled under my breath. Funny, I spent years chasing destruction, and peace was waiting in the silence afterward. The wind picked up, tugging at my hair. The horizon shimmered gold as the first wave crashed against the rocks below. Nora turned to leave. "Take care of yourself, Aiden." "You too," I said. "And, Nora, thanks for not giving up on me." She smiled once before walking back to her car. When her engine faded into the distance, all that was left was the sea and me. I stood it, taking one last look at the water. Lucas, Alara, the versions of myself I buried with them, all of it drifted somewhere behind me now. "Unreachable," I whispered to the wind. Maybe some stories aren't about winning. Maybe they're about surviving. The waves didn't answer. They just moved, endlessly, as if to remind me that life doesn't pause for broken hearts. For the first time in years, I breathed in deeply, the air sharp, clean, alive, and as the tide rolled in, I let go. It had been months since the wedding. Since the chaos, since the silence that followed. One rainy afternoon, while sorting through old boxes, I found it the invitation. Lucas and Alara. The paper was creased, edges yellowed. My name still sat there in elegant ink, like a bruise that never healed. For a long time, I just stared at it. My hands didn't shake this time. They were steady, calm. Maybe that was progress. I sat at my desk, flipped the invitation over, and pulled out a pen. "Dear Lucas," I began. The words came slowly, then all at once. "Thank you for breaking me." I stopped, the sound of rain filling the room. It wasn't bitterness anymore, just honesty. "Because of that," I continued, "I learned how to rebuild myself. You took everything from me once, and for years, I thought that made me powerless. But it didn't. It made me stronger, wiser, free." I exhaled softly, the ink still glistening on the paper. I wrote more. Not for him, but for me. I used to think revenge would heal me. It didn't. It only emptied me. But emptiness has a strange beauty when you fill it with something real. I've learned peace isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about no longer needing answers. The clock ticked. The rain eased. I signed the letter with a name that finally felt mine again. Ed and I read it once, then again. There was nothing left to add. No anger, no longing. Just quiet truth. The envelope sat open beside me, waiting. But I didn't seal it. I didn't even address it. Some words aren't meant to reach the people who caused them. They're meant to release the one who wrote them. I folded the letter, placed it in the same drawer where the invitation had rested, and closed it gently. That sound, the soft click of wood, felt like an ending. I whispered into the still room. "You were right, Father Donovan. Hatred chains the heart. But today, I finally dropped the key." The rain started again, softer this time. Outside, the world smelled new, washed clean. I leaned back, closed my eyes, and let the quiet fill me. No vengeance, no victory, just peace, earned scar by scar. Maybe that was enough.